The early morning sunlight filtered softly through the curtains of the Harris household, casting a warm glow across the cozy living room. Outside, the world was waking up slowly, birds chirping, leaves rustling gently in the breeze, and somewhere, down the quiet suburban street, a butterfly flitted lazily by. It was the kind of peaceful morning that seemed ordinary in every way, except for one small, unexpected event that was about to change everything. Max, the Harris family's beloved German shepherd, stretched his powerful legs and shook his thick coat, eyes alert and bright. Max wasn't just any dog. He was a guardian, a gentle giant, and above all a devoted friend to little Lily, the Harris's 1-year-old daughter. Max took his role seriously, watching over the house and, more importantly, over Lily, with unwavering loyalty. This morning Max had been pacing the yard, his nose twitching as he caught the scent of something unusual, a delicate flutter of wings. His keen eyes spotted the source, a beautiful yellow butterfly dancing near the metal front gate just inches away. Intrigued and driven by the curiosity that was part of his nature, Max approached slowly. The butterfly dipped and weaved, teasing Max with its light, unpredictable movements. Without a second thought, Max poked his head through the narrow metal bars of the gate, trying to get a closer look at the fragile creature. His nose twitched excitedly, and his ears perked up in anticipation. But what happened next was anything but what he expected. Suddenly, Max's head was trapped, wedged tightly between the cold, unforgiving metal bars. He tried to pull back, but the gate's narrow spaces held him fast. Max's heart began to race. His eyes darted around nervously as he tried to twist his head free, but the more he struggled, the tighter the metal seemed to grip him. A low, worried whimper escaped his throat, quickly growing into a panicked bark that echoed through the quiet street. Inside the house, the Harris family was busy preparing breakfast. Lily's mother hummed softly as she mixed pancake batter, while her father read the morning news at the kitchen table. The sound of Max's bark drifted faintly to their ears, but both thought it was just their usual morning greeting. After all, Max often barked when someone passed by or when he wanted attention, but this time something was different. In her crib, baby Lily shifted and stirred, sensing an unfamiliar tension in the air. She crawled toward the window, her chubby hands pushing herself up as she peered outside. Her wide blue eyes immediately locked onto Max's trapped face, pressed between the bars. She could see his fearful eyes and hear his distressed whines. Something in Lily's tiny heart stirred. This was her best friend, and he was in trouble. Without waiting for anyone's help, Lily pushed herself toward the door. Her small fingers gripped the edge of the table as she pulled herself up, wobbling, slightly on unsteady legs. The screen door, usually latched to keep her safely inside, was slightly ajar. With surprising strength for her age, she pushed it open and stepped outside. Max's eyes brightened as he saw Lily approaching. Despite the discomfort, he felt a wave of calm wash over him. The baby's presence was a quiet comfort amid his fear. Lily crawled close, her small hands reaching up to stroke Max's fur. She babbled softly, her voice a soothing melody that seemed to speak directly to Max's frightened heart. Max's whines softened, and he nuzzled her hand with his nose, trusting the baby's gentle touch. Meanwhile, inside the house, Lily's mother realized the front door was open and rushed outside, her heart pounding with alarm. The sight that greeted her was both heartbreaking and hopeful, her baby sitting beside the trapped dog, stroking him as if she understood his pain. Panic surged through her veins as she called out for her husband, who came running with the family's toolbox. The quiet street was now alive with activity. Neighbors heard the commotion and stepped outside to see what was wrong. Together they surrounded the gate, tools in hand, ready to help. But the gate was solid metal, unyielding and unmovable without the right tools and careful effort. All the while Max remained still, the baby's calming presence holding him steady even as the metal gripped his head tight. Time was running out, but no one could deny the strange, powerful bond between the helpless dog and the brave baby beside him. As the first rays of sunlight stretched longer across the neighborhood, the tension outside the Harris house grew heavier with each passing second. Max's head remained firmly trapped in the cold, unyielding bars of the metal gate. His frantic attempts to free himself only made things worse. Every twist and pull tightened the metal's grip against his fur and skin, sending sharp discomfort, radiating through his head and neck. Max's usual confident bark turned into desperate, muffled whines. His eyes, full of fear and confusion, scanned the scene around him, looking for any sign of help. The neighborhood was awakening now. Doors opened, people peeked outside, and curious murmurs floated through the air. But for Max, time was slipping away, and with every struggle his panic grew. Inside the house, the Harris family scrambled. Lily's mother, Sarah, was the first to notice something was terribly wrong. The front door, which was usually locked to keep baby Lily safe indoors, stood ajar. A sudden chill ran down Sarah's spine. She scanned the house quickly and noticed the empty crib. Panic gripped her heart. "Lily!" she called, voice trembling. Her husband, Mark, dropped his coffee and joined the search. Just outside, Lily sat on the porch, a tiny figure dwarfed by the overwhelming situation unfolding before her. Her chubby hands still rested on Max's soft fur, her voice a gentle murmur that seemed to soothe the struggling dog. Despite her youth, Lily's instincts had led her straight to her best friend's side. She didn't fully understand the danger, but felt it deeply in her soul. Max paused his frantic struggles for a moment, his heavy breathing slowing as Lily's calming presence soothed his fear. The bond between dog and child was undeniable, pure and unspoken, a connection that transcended words. Lily's innocent touch was like a balm to Max's frayed nerves, a beacon of hope amid the distress. But the metal bars showed no mercy. They held Max tight, cold against his skin, refusing to budge no matter how hard the dog pulled or twisted. Sarah hurried outside, heart pounding as she took in the scene, the baby, the trapped dog, the crowd of neighbors beginning to gather. "Max! Oh, Max!" Sarah cried, her voice breaking as she rushed to her dog's side. She knelt beside him, stroking his head gently. Max licked her hand weakly, grateful for her presence, but still trapped. Mark appeared moments later, carrying the family's toolbox, followed by a few neighbors who offered their help. The gate was old but sturdy, made of thick metal bars welded tightly together. It wasn't designed to be opened without a key or tools, and the small gap where Max's head was stuck was far too narrow to pull him free by force. Everyone exchanged worried glances. They needed a plan, and fast. "Can you stay calm, Max? We're going to get you out," Sarah whispered softly, trying to keep her voice steady despite the rising panic. Max's eyes locked onto hers, searching for reassurance. Lily, still sitting close by, continued to stroke Max's fur, babbling her baby talk. Her tiny fingers traced gentle circles on his muzzle, and Max responded with soft whines that seemed almost like words of thanks. The crowd watched in awe at the quiet comfort the baby provided, a moment of peace in an otherwise chaotic scene. Neighbors began calling for tools, pliers, crowbars, anything that might help. One of them ran to get a hydraulic jack from his garage, hoping the pressure could bend the bars just enough to free Max. Others moved furniture and objects to create space around the gate, clearing the way for the rescue attempt. Time seemed to stretch endlessly. Max's breathing grew labored, his body trembling slightly from the stress. Sarah wrapped a towel gently around his neck, hoping to protect his skin from the rough metal edges. She whispered soothing words, willing him to hold on. Mark paced, nervously, frustration and helplessness clouding his face. "We need to be careful," he said. "If we force this too much, it could hurt him." "Don't worry, we'll get him out," Sarah replied, though her voice was tinged with fear. Meanwhile, Lily's gaze never left Max's face. The baby's pure, unshakable faith in her best friend's safety was a quiet strength no one else seemed to have. As neighbors worked urgently on freeing Max, Lily and Max shared a rare, silent conversation, two souls connected beyond words, bound by trust and love. The tension grew unbearable, but the baby's calm kept Max steady. It was a delicate balance, too. Much panic could make the dog thrash and injure himself, but the baby's presence was a steady anchor. Suddenly, a neighbor called out, "I think I've got something." He returned with a pair of bolt cutters and began examining the gate's lock and hinges, searching for any way to pry it open. Sarah held Max's head carefully, stroking his fur while whispering, "You're so brave, Max. Hold on just a little. Longer. Max's eyes, wide and filled with trust, flickered with hope. The rescue had begun, but the clock was still ticking, and no one could predict how much time was left before Max's strength might give out. Outside the Harris house, the air was thick with worry, but amid the chaos a remarkable moment unfolded. Lily, the tiny baby with chubby fingers and wide, curious eyes, remained right beside Max, the trapped German shepherd. Despite the danger, she didn't cry or crawl away. Instead, she did something no one expected. She became Max's quiet source of strength. Lily's small hands moved gently across Max's fur, as if telling him silently, "I'm here, and I won't leave you." Her baby babble was soft and rhythmic, a lullaby only she understood, but somehow it was exactly what Max needed. The dog's frantic whines softened into slow, calming breaths. His trembling body settled slightly, and his eyes, still wide with fear, locked onto Lily's face with a newfound trust. The adults around them watched in stunned silence. It was almost as if Lily's innocence and courage were pulling the situation away from disaster. Sarah, Lily's mother, wiped tears from her cheeks as she witnessed the deep bond between her daughter and their loyal dog. Mark stood close by, eyes scanning the gate, trying to stay focused on the rescue but unable to ignore the heartwarming scene in front of him. Despite their hope, the problem remained. Max's head was trapped tight, the metal bars like prison bars pressing cold and unforgiving against him. The neighbors had gathered tools and were debating the best way to free him without causing injury. One neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, an elderly man with years of experience in metalwork, stepped forward. "We need to be very careful," he said calmly. "If we try to force this, it could hurt Max badly. But maybe if we take it slow and steady, we can bend the bars just enough." The group nodded, grateful for his steady voice in the stressful moment. Lily, oblivious to the technical talk, continued to sit by Max's side, her presence like a quiet shield. Suddenly, she reached out and touched Max's ear. The dog leaned into the tiny hand, relaxing just a little more. It was as if Lily's touch spoke directly to his heart, reminding him that he wasn't alone. Sarah knelt beside her daughter, holding her close but careful not to disturb the dog. "You're so brave, Lily," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You're helping Max more than you know." At that moment, a wave of neighbors from down the street arrived, bringing more tools and determination. Someone had called the local fire department, and the responders were on their way with specialized equipment. Time was running short, but hope had not faded. Meanwhile, the neighborhood children had gathered a safe distance away, whispering about the trapped dog and the brave baby. Among them was Timmy, a 10-year-old boy who loved Max and often played with him in the yard. Timmy looked up at the gate with wide eyes, wishing he could help, but knowing the adults had it covered. Back at the gate, the atmosphere grew quieter as the group prepared to act. Mr. Jenkins carefully took a crowbar and wedged it between the bars, slowly applying pressure. The metal groaned softly, but didn't bend far. Everyone held their breath. Lily reached out again, patting Max gently on the head. The dog responded with a soft whine, as if telling her to be patient. The baby smiled, her innocent eyes shining bright despite the situation's danger. The minutes felt like hours. Max's breathing was steady now, thanks to Lily's calming touch, but his energy was clearly waning. Sarah glanced anxiously at her husband. "We have to get him out soon." Suddenly, a sharp noise pierced the air, the sound of the crowbar slipping and the metal bending slightly. Cheers erupted from the gathered crowd, but Mr. Jenkins quickly hushed them. "Careful," he warned. "We're close." With slow, deliberate movements, the bars creaked and gave just enough space for Max to begin pulling his head back. He hesitated for a moment, eyes flicking to Lily, as if asking for permission. She giggled and reached out, her fingers brushing his nose. Encouraged, Max wrenched his head backward with a powerful surge. The metal scraped painfully, but finally his head slipped free. Max collapsed on the grass, panting heavily, but free. Lily leaned over him, her tiny hands exploring his face with wonder and love. The crowd around them burst into applause and tears. Sarah scooped up her brave baby, holding her close as she smiled through tears. For a moment, nothing else mattered. Just a baby, a dog, and an unbreakable bond forged in the face of fear. The instant Max's head slipped free from the unforgiving grip of the metal gate, a wave of relief swept through the gathered crowd. But there was no time to celebrate just yet. Max was exhausted, and the dangers were far from over. The struggle to free him had taken a toll. Max collapsed onto the cool grass, his heavy panting echoing in the suddenly quiet street. His breathing was shallow and rapid, the sharp edges of the gate having left raw marks along his fur and skin. His eyes, still wide and alert, flicked toward Lily, who was already crawling toward him with determination. Sarah quickly moved to Max's side, gently lifting his head into her arms. She could feel the slight tremble in his body and saw the cuts and bruises left by the metal. Her heart ached for him. "You're okay now, Max. We'll take care of you," she whispered, brushing his fur tenderly. Mark had already dialed the vet's number. Within minutes, the emergency animal ambulance was on its way. The neighbors stepped back, giving the family room but still watching anxiously. Everyone knew how much this dog meant to the Harris family, and especially to baby Lily. Lily, meanwhile, refused to leave Max's side. Her small hands stroked his head gently as if to reassure him that everything would be all right. Max nuzzled her softly, the trust between them unshaken despite the terrifying ordeal. As Sarah wiped away tears, she glanced at the twisted gate that had almost become Max's prison. The metal bars gleamed coldly in the sunlight, a stark reminder of how quickly danger could strike in the most ordinary places. The minutes dragged on as the ambulance finally arrived. Paramedics rushed out with medical equipment and a blanket. They carefully examined Max's wounds, praising the family for their quick action. The cuts were painful but superficial, and thankfully, no bones were broken. Still, Max was weak, and the stress of being trapped had left him shaken. One paramedic spoke softly to Sarah. "He's lucky you found him so quickly. If he'd been stuck much longer, it could have been worse." Sarah nodded, gratitude mixing with guilt. "I keep thinking about what could have happened. That gate, it's so dangerous." Mark stepped forward, looking at the gate thoughtfully. "We need to replace it, something safer. No more metal bars that can trap him." The family's love for Max was clear in every word, every glance. He wasn't just a pet. He was a protector, a friend, and an essential part of their lives. Lily, though still a baby, seemed to understand the seriousness of the moment. She reached out, grabbing Sarah's hand tightly. Sarah smiled through her tears and squeezed back, drawing strength from her daughter's innocent bravery. As the paramedics prepared to take Max to the vet for further care, Sarah scooped up Lily and followed closely. The neighborhood, once filled with curious onlookers, was now quiet, everyone sharing a collective sigh of relief. But even as Max was driven away in the ambulance, the story was far from over. The Harris family knew this ordeal would change them and their community forever. That evening, as the sun set in streaks of orange and pink, Sarah sat beside Max's hospital bed. The dog lay quietly, eyes closed, exhausted but alive. Lily rested in Sarah's lap, fingers gently touching Max's head. "We were so lucky," Sarah whispered, voice trembling with emotion. "And you, Lily, you were his hero today." Lily giggled softly, reaching out again to touch Max's face. The dog opened one eye and nuzzled her gently. It was a moment of pure connection, a bond strengthened by trial and love. News of the rescue had already begun to spread through the neighborhood. Messages of support poured in from friends and strangers alike, touched by the baby's bravery and the family's devotion. But even as the world watched and admired, the Harris family focused on healing, physically and emotionally. They knew that the accident was a wake-up call. The gate that had caused so much fear was to be replaced immediately with a safer, more secure fence. Max's health would be carefully monitored, and the family would do everything possible to keep their beloved dog safe. For now, the priority was recovery and gratitude. Gratitude for Max's life, for Lily's courage, and for the community that had come together in a moment of crisis. As night deepened, the quiet house was filled with soft breathing, the steady rhythm of a sleeping baby, and beside her, the gentle sighs of a dog who had fought hard and won. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, and new bonds forged in the fire of an unforgettable day. But for tonight, the Harris family simply held each other close, thankful for the love that had saved them all. The days after Max's rescue passed slowly, each one filled with moments of hope, worry, and quiet joy. At the veterinary clinic, Max received the care he desperately needed. The cuts on his head and neck were cleaned and treated, and the vet assured Sarah and Mark that with rest and love, Max would make a full recovery. The family visited the clinic every day, bringing Lily along to see her best friend. Though the baby was too young to understand the seriousness of the situation, she seemed to know that Max was fragile, and she treated him with the gentlest affection. Sarah often found herself watching the two, Max's dark eyes meeting Lily's, bright ones, and feeling overwhelmed by the depth of their bond. It was a connection built not just on friendship, but on pure, unwavering loyalty. Back at home, the Harris family took swift action to prevent any future accidents. The old metal gate was removed, replaced with a tall, sturdy wooden fence that was safe for both Max and Lily. The new gate had no narrow gaps or dangerous spaces, and it gave Max the freedom to roam without risk. Neighbors stopped by with gifts and words of encouragement, inspired by the story of the brave baby and the loyal dog. Mrs. Thompson from next door baked cookies for the family, and Mr. Jenkins offered to help build a custom doghouse in the backyard for Max's comfort. In the evenings, Mark would sit in the living room with Max curled at his feet, watching Lily play nearby. The house felt alive with gratitude and healing, a place where love had conquered fear. One afternoon, as the family enjoyed a quiet moment together, Sarah reflected on the events that had unfolded. The fear she felt when she realized Max was trapped still lingered, but it was now replaced with a deep sense of appreciation. "We were so lucky," she said softly to Mark. "And Lily, she was incredible. I never imagined a baby could be so brave." Mark nodded, eyes full of pride. "Sometimes it's the smallest among us who show the greatest courage." Lily's laughter filled the room as she crawled over to Max, who wagged his tail weakly, but happily. It was clear that their friendship had only grown stronger. Meanwhile, the community's response had sparked something unexpected, a wave of kindness and connection. Inspired by the incident, neighbors began organizing regular gatherings, sharing stories, and looking out for one another more closely. Local animal shelters received donations from people moved by Max's story, and some families decided to adopt pets of their own. The Harris family's ordeal had touched hearts far beyond their quiet street. For Sarah and Mark, the experience was a powerful reminder of the fragile beauty of life. They realized how quickly ordinary days could change, and how important it was to cherish every moment. As Max continued to heal, he grew more energetic, his playful spirit returning with each passing day. Lily delighted in every wag of his tail and every nuzzle, her bond with Max a constant source of joy. One morning, as sunlight streamed through the windows, Sarah watched Lily and Max playing together in the yard. The baby giggled as Max gently tugged on a soft toy, careful not to be too rough. It was a scene of pure happiness, a testament to the resilience of both dog and child. Despite the scare and the pain, the Harris family had emerged stronger, united by love and the shared experience of overcoming a frightening ordeal. Max was more than a pet. He was a symbol of courage and friendship, a living reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope could shine brightly. As the weeks went by, the story of Max and Lily became a cherished tale in the neighborhood, a story told and retold, reminding everyone of the extraordinary bond between a baby and her dog. And for the Harris family, every day was a new beginning, a chance to celebrate life, love, and the miraculous strength found in the unlikeliest of heroes. In the weeks following Max's harrowing escape, the Harris family felt the comforting ripple of support from their neighborhood spread in ways they hadn't anticipated. What began as a terrifying emergency had blossomed into a powerful reminder of how a community can come together in the face of adversity. The new wooden fence, sturdy and safe, now surrounded the Harris property, a symbol of care and protection. Max, though still recovering, spent his days outside more freely, chasing butterflies and basking in the warmth of the sun. Lily, toddling now, followed closely, her laughter filling the yard like a melody. Neighbors stopped by frequently, sharing stories and checking in. Some brought treats for Max, while others offered toys for Lily. It was as though the incident had knit the neighborhood into a tighter fabric, each thread woven with kindness and concern. One afternoon, Mr. Jenkins, the elderly metal worker who had been instrumental in the rescue, came by with a surprise. In his weathered hands was a beautifully crafted metal plaque, engraved with a simple message, "Max and Lily, heroes of our neighborhood." Sarah accepted the gift with tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. This means more than you." "So no," Mark smiled, placing the plaque near the garden gate. "A reminder of what we've been through and what we can overcome." As the family admired the plaque, Lily toddled over to Max, pulling at his tail with giddy excitement. Max responded with a gentle wag, patient as always. The two were inseparable, their bond deeper than ever. The story of Max's rescue had even reached local news outlets. A reporter visited the Harris home one morning, eager to hear firsthand about the baby's quiet heroism and the community's swift response. Sarah and Mark shared their experience openly, hoping to inspire others to look out for their neighbors and pets. Lily, now fascinated by the camera, giggled and waved at the lens, her infectious joy stealing the spotlight. Max, sensing the excitement, sat proudly beside her, his tongue lolling happily. The interview aired later that week, touching hearts far beyond the neighborhood. Messages of support poured in from strangers moved by the baby's bravery and the dog's resilience. The Harris family found themselves surrounded by newfound friends, some offering help, others sharing stories of their own pets. Back at home, the family made a special effort to celebrate the small victories. Every day Max grew stronger. Every new word Lily learned was a reminder that life was precious and fragile. One evening, as the family gathered around the dinner table, Sarah raised her glass in a quiet toast. "To Max, Lily, and all the people who showed us what kindness looks like." Mark clinked his glass gently. "And to never taking a moment for granted." Lily clapped her hands excitedly, her innocent joy lighting up the room. But the journey wasn't without its challenges. Max still had moments of anxiety, flinching at sudden noises or unfamiliar movements. Sarah worked closely with a dog trainer, determined to help Max regain confidence and feel safe in his surroundings. The trainer praised Max's gentle nature and quick recovery, but emphasized the importance of patience. "He's been through a lot, but with love and support, he'll thrive." Lily, ever intuitive, seemed to sense Max's feelings. She spent hours playing quietly, her tiny hands comforting him when he seemed nervous. Their friendship was a source of healing, a dance of mutual understanding. As summer approached, the Harris family planned a neighborhood picnic, a celebration of life, friendship, and community. Invitations went out, and soon the park was filled with laughter, chatter, and the joyful chaos of children and pets playing together. Max, now nearly back to his old self, basked in the sunshine, his tail wagging in time with the music. Lily, dressed in a bright yellow dress, ran freely, her laughter mingling with the breeze. Neighbors exchanged stories, shared food, and marveled at how a simple act of care had transformed them all. The plaque by the Harris gate stood as a testament, not just to Max and Lily's courage, but to the power of community. As the sun set over the park, Sarah looked around, her heart full. "We came through something hard," she said softly, "but we did it together." Mark nodded. "And together we're stronger than ever." In the quiet moments after the picnic, as the family walked home hand in hand, Max trotted happily beside them. The future was bright, full of promise and love, proof that even in the darkest times hope and kindness could shine through. As the days grew warmer and summer settled into the neighborhood, the Harris family found themselves reflecting on the profound impact the ordeal with Max had on their lives. What had started as a terrifying accident had become a catalyst for growth, love, and a deeper understanding of one another. Sarah often caught herself watching Max and Lily, marveling at the unique bond they shared. Max was no longer just a pet or a protector. He had become a symbol of resilience and unconditional love. And Lily, with her fearless spirit, had shown everyone that courage sometimes comes in the smallest packages. One afternoon, Sarah sat on the porch with a cup of tea while Lily played nearby, chasing a butterfly with gleeful determination. Max lay lazily in the shade, his fur shining in the sunlight, occasionally lifting his head to watch over his little friend. Mark joined them, wiping sweat from his brow after working on some yard repairs. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "this whole experience has taught me a lot about patience and looking out for the ones you love." Sarah smiled. "Me too. I think I've learned to appreciate the small moments even more." Their lives had become a tapestry of tiny, precious memories. Lily's first steps, Max's joyful bark greeting each morning, the shared laughter of family dinners. But the accident had also left its mark. Max's occasional flinches at sudden sounds reminded them that healing takes time. The family was patient, understanding that Max's trauma was real and required gentle care. They continued working with the dog trainer, who helped them develop techniques to build Max's confidence. Each small victory was celebrated, whether it was Max walking calmly past a noisy street or resting comfortably during a thunderstorm. Lily, even as a toddler, seemed to grasp the importance of kindness. Sarah watched as her daughter gently comforted Max during moments of anxiety, her tiny hands stroking his fur, her soft coos a soothing balm. Their home had become a sanctuary of love and healing, where every heartbeat echoed the lessons learned. Through struggle, one day while playing in the backyard, Lily found a small rock painted with bright colors. Curious, she brought it inside to show her parents. The rock had been left anonymously, a gesture of goodwill from a neighbor touched by their story. Touched by the kindness, Sarah and Mark decided to start a small community project, a painted rock garden in the local park, where families could add stones with positive messages and colorful designs. It was a way to spread hope and unity, inspired by the way their neighborhood had rallied around them. The project took off quickly. Children and adults alike brought their own creations, each rock telling a story of courage, love, or simply joy. Max and Lily became the unofficial mascots of the garden, their story written on a plaque nearby. As the garden grew, so did the Harris family's connection to their community. They found themselves involved in local events, sharing their experience to encourage others to care for their pets and neighbors. One evening, as the family sat around the garden, watching the sun set behind painted stones glistening in the twilight, Sarah felt a deep sense of peace. "We came so close to losing Max," she said quietly, "but here we are, stronger together." Mark nodded, his gaze warm. "And Lily. She showed us that sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones we least expect." Lily, sitting between her parents, giggled and reached out to hug Max, who leaned into her embrace, his tail wagging slowly. The bond between them was more than love. It was a testament to the power of hope, resilience, and the quiet courage that lives in every heart. The Harris family had weathered a storm and come out shining. Their lives, forever touched by that frightening day, were now filled with gratitude and a deeper appreciation for the unbreakable ties that bind. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden glow over the quiet street where the Harris family lived. It was a calm evening, but the memories of the recent week still lingered in Sarah's mind like a vivid dream, one she would never forget. Max was curled up peacefully on the new dog bed in the living room, his breathing steady and calm. His wounds had healed, and his spirit had rebounded stronger than anyone could have hoped. The gentle nudge of Lily's tiny hand on his fur was all the reassurance he needed, and he returned her affection with a soft lick. Lily had grown in so many ways, blossoming under the care and love that surrounded her. She had learned words like brave and friend, not just as vocabulary, but as the foundation of her relationship with Max. Sarah sat beside them, watching her daughter and her dog with tears in her eyes, tears of joy, relief, and gratitude. That terrifying day when Max's head was trapped in the metal gate felt like a distant nightmare now. Yet the lessons from that day had etched themselves into their lives, shaping them in ways they never imagined. Sarah thought about how close they had come to tragedy, and how through love and community they had found strength. The metal gate was gone, replaced by a safe fence. The neighborhood was closer, bound by kindness and shared stories, but most of all their family had grown closer. Mark returned from the backyard, where he'd been tending to the painted rock garden. The little oasis had become a symbol of hope, not just for their family, but for the entire community. "Come see," he called softly. "The new stones arrived today." Sarah and Lily followed him outside. The garden glowed softly under the early evening sky, stones painted with bright colors and messages of love, courage, and friendship. Among them was a stone decorated by Lily herself, a bright yellow sun, smiling wide. "Look, Mommy," Lily said proudly, pointing to her stone. "It's happy," Sarah smiled, squeezing her hand. "It's perfect, sweetheart." Max trotted alongside them, tail wagging, as if he understood the significance of this place. The garden was more than just rocks. It was a testament to resilience, a celebration of survival, and a reminder that even in the darkest times light could be found. Sarah knelt beside Max, brushing her fingers through his fur. "You saved us all, Max, in your own way." Mark wrapped an arm around Sarah's shoulders. "And Lily was our little hero too." The baby giggled, reaching out to hug her parents and Max all at once. That night, as the family settled in for bed, the quiet hum of the neighborhood felt warm and alive. The story of Max and Lily's bravery had inspired not only their neighbors but also themselves, to cherish every moment, to protect those they love, and to never lose hope. In the days that followed, Sarah and Mark often thought about how fragile life could be, but also how incredibly strong the human and animal spirit was when bolstered by love. They vowed to keep teaching Lily those values: bravery, kindness, and compassion. Values that Max had embodied without even knowing it. And so, life moved forward, shaped by the memory of a dog's trapped head and a baby's fearless heart. The Harris family was forever changed, but in the best way possible. Together, they faced the future, ready for whatever came next, with hearts full of gratitude, and a bond that no metal gate or any obstacle could ever break.